Good morning, good afternoon, and possibly even good evening to those of you across the world. We are coming at you live today with yet more of the Metroid Fusion Randomizer tournament. My name is Autumn Out of Habit. I am joined here by Army of One.
And JRP, it is currently 1 a.m. You should be asleep by now. But of course, we know that you're not.
I'll count 1 a.m. as evening. I'm just trying to be charitable to myself. We are also joined by the Great Pikmin ZX789 on trackers. So less for Army and I have to think about, and more for us to be able to ramble to you. But we are bringing you the only Metroid Fusion Randomizer race on the schedule today. A bit of a change of pace from our last couple weekends.
Yeah, the tournament has been keeping us busy for the last few weeks, but this weekend we're gonna take it nice and slow. Wait a minute.
I don't take it slow tomorrow.
That's not what we're supposed to be doing here. We want to go fast, and hopefully both of these excellent runners will be going very fast for us. FPiz versus Lenophis. This is the tiebreaker match.
And also, they are going to be underway in 3, 2, 1, and go. And it looks like we might have we have about a 5-second desync, so I'm sure we will get that synced up. Our runners are getting ready to go. They will, of course, as always, be starting at the gunship, making their way up to the operations room, where they will find one of Morph Ball, missiles, or the speed booster. Army, what are they going to find up there today? Give us the call. Give us the hard read.
Ooh, hard read? Man, it's not that hard. It's going to be missiles, unfortunately.
You know, I think you're right. I don't want you to be right, but I think you're right.
I know. I don't want to be right a lot of the times, too, but it turns out a lot of the times I'm right.
And FPiz about a half a second ahead through the climb with absolutely beautiful shot cancels today. Putting on a clinic here.
These looks players, like both runners are nice and warmed up for us today.
Yeah, FPiz, one of the best in the business at Metroid Fusion Vanilla. Lenophis, you've probably seen him across a number of randomizers for those of you who hang out here on SpeedGaming a lot. I'm not sure there's a rando that Leno doesn't play from time to time. And we are on Game 3 of the winner's bracket matchup between these two. They are currently tied at 1-1. Unfortunately, the last attempt at a Game 3 had some technical issues. But we are in winner's bracket round 4. Winner will move on to the winner semis against SN Ivan. Loser will drop down to...
Looks like I was wrong. We're starting with some speed.
Sorry about that, Army. That's what I get for looking down at the bracket instead of actually looking at the race for a second.
Yeah, it looks like things are happening. Of course, it'll take a few seconds before more things happen, so... Winner of this one going up against Ivan. Who's the loser going to go up against? Or the possibilities?
That is not yet
loser
decided.
Bracket. Right, loser bracket still needs a little bit to catch up.
Loser's bracket. Loser of this matchup will go up against the winner of Farron Oso versus Kaede Rukawa. Also, we are being joined by 62 of our friends who were over on SpeedGaming 2, coming in to watch FPiz swagging up the stairwell. Lenophis going for the more classic climb up the stairwell. We have a speed booster start in Metroid Fusion Randomizer, and let's tell our friends what they need to do. The goal of this rando is pretty simple. You need to beat the game. To do that, you have to spawn the SAX and final boss sequence, which requires Charge Beam, Plasma Beam, main missiles, one of High Jump or Space Jump, and you have to open level 3 locks. And Army, how about you tell the folks what is behind door opening level 4 locks? I said 3, I meant 4.
Numbers are hard, I understand. So for level 4 locks, within logic, there are many different clips and tricks that you can do in order to break the logic, but we don't worry about those right now.
Also, did you see that from FPiz?
That was a very nice speed jump to kill that Kago instead of a Shine Spark.
Probably a very tight
that was
window
nice.
On it. FPiz always does bring the swag here, so I might have to steal that for my own runs. Again, that's what I say every time I watch FPIS do a new strat.
Right. Jump instead of bonk. Bonking is slow, jumping fast. Good to know. So, for level 4 locks, we need to get down into lower sector 4. In order to do that, we need a gravity suit, speed booster, morph ball, and either morph ball bombs or a screw attack, and that'll get us to, and along with our missiles that we also need for the SIX, that'll get us to the locks for the level 4 doors. Unfortunately, that won't get us out, so we'll also need either screw attack or some sort of ice. So, by my count, in order to beat the game, out of the 18 major items that we can find, we need at least 8 or 9 of them.
You can also technically get out of lower 4 if you just have space jump, if you want to do the well-known secret message strat that is a swag trick in the vanilla game, but can be used in Randomizer, although usually don't want to. And speaking of space jump, or as I like to call it, space junk, because this removes your ability to do wall jumps, and wall jumps are good. Not having wall jumps are bad. Plus, space jump without the high jump boots, just a little bit miserable to actually use.
Yeah, so secret message, if you're using the vanilla loadout of all beams up to plasma, I mean, it isn't too bad. It takes a bit of doing, but this is a randomizer, so you can't always count on having that plasma charge pseudo screw to get rid of the fish. Man, I hate those fish. It could be easier with a screw attack, but if you can't get rid of those fish easy, then it can be a nightmare to pull off. So we haven't seen any secret messages in this tournament yet. So not likely to see any more.
And Nemono in chat, don't worry, I'm sure Army will give you that space soon. Anyway, let's see where our runners decide to go from Sector 2. They were logically restricted when they came down here. FPIS and it looks like Lenophis also both going to Sector 3. They have the ability to check 2 items in here. One speed locked, one is just locked behind a damage run, although speed booster greatly helps. Just finding some missiles down in the Telltale Heart. FPIS just a couple of seconds ahead of Lenophis here. We are going to see a check at the end of the lava hallway. And once we get that, FPIS getting a little trolled by the space jump arc, trying to shoot out those blocks. We need to find progression here because our runners do not have logical access to Sector 1 with their current loadout. This is a difficulty 2 seed. In difficulty 3 on Randomizer 0.90, you can be expected to get into Sector 1 with only Speed Booster to use a Shine Spark trick to kill the Stabilizer. But those missiles that FPIS just picked up on the left will give access to Sector 1, as you need either Charge Beam.
Oh no, FPIS! Oh, FPIS getting tagged by one of those lava spouts. Or one too many, I should say.
You lose 20 seconds speed boosting across the room in the first place, and it takes about 120 energy to get back out. So taking a hit when you only have 1 energy tank, almost certain death. And FPIS didn't save going into 3, so having to run back over from 2. Not a huge time loss, but this does put Lenophis in the lead. Although this is very early with this rando, so anything could happen.
Lenophis cutting it a little close. Took a little bit of a hot bath in that lava, getting out with only 17 health.
And Kazuto saying that the Shine Spark Stabilizer's difficulty 3 is minimum, that's what I was intending to say. Wouldn't surprise me if those aren't the words that actually came out of my mouth, though. So, my apologies for the mistake. But the goal was to say, not on this difficulty, but in other difficulties that could be. Fortunately, we do have Kazuto, the developer of the randomizer, in chat. So we can get corrections on whatever the randomizer is supposed to do.
Ooh, Lenophis heading up to Arachnus with his newly gotten missiles. That's a little bit of a risky maneuver, just because Arachnus is a soft lock if you do not find Morph Ball. And because we didn't start with missiles, that doesn't guarantee that Morph Ball is going to be up in the vanilla location.
That's right, and that is a long way out of the way just to get 5 checks. In Sector 1, our runners will have access without Morph Ball to... Well, Sector 1 only has 6 checks for our... or 3 checks for our runners, rather. I meant 3, I said 6. Numbers are just too hard for me this morning.
Well, with Morph Ball, that certainly opens up more checks in Sector 1, but we have FPiz heading into Sector 1, probably going to save at the top of here, just in case he doesn't find Morph Ball down in the Sector 1 loop.
Yeah, have to imagine that. In chat asking if Leno saved before leaving Sector 3. I didn't see it, but knowing that Leno is a veteran of many randomizers, have to assume that he would have saved there.
I didn't see him save there either. But it doesn't matter because we have Morph Ball. And FPiz, unfortunately, taking the wrong play.
And FPiz missing the Speed Store was trying to show off the Shine Spark to get through the Stabilizer, even if it's not required. And let's see what pays off. Looks like FPiz trying to look in the Hornode hole, peeping a major, not able to get in there without Morph Ball. And we know he won't find that until he goes to Arachnus. Fortunately for FPiz, whatever happens in these next rooms, once he goes down and gets the item by the 3rd Stabilizer, he will have to make the play up to Arachnus. And with only ammo so far, have to assume that FPiz is gonna reset out of here.
FPiz looks like he's going to go ahead and go all the way to the bottom of the loop to make that one last check. He did see a major up in the Hornode hole, so he does know that the critical path is along the Sector 1 loop. But
we don't know
that.
That could be Wave Beam.
It could be the critical path Wave Beam.
That is true. And no Arachnus special today, as Pikmin would like to say. We've got High Jump on Arachnus. That'll make Space Jump much nicer to use, and just generally good for mobility. And we have chat asking why skipping energy tanks. Our runners do want to go fast today, and some of these energy tanks are slow. I know when FPiz plays any percent, he only collects 2 energy tanks through the whole run. Generally smarter to pick up a few more in Randomizer, but also very likely to find some on your way. And FPiz finding Varia Suit in the bottom of Sector 1, resetting out because that does not help him just yet. Lenophis taking more of a lead, having made the correct call to go to Arachnus, and not finding bombs yet. That's going to force him into Sector 1.
So FPiz now heading into the Arachnus area.
And our runner's giving us a high five through the door transition.
We got a half-speed high five.
You know, Yervos, the more you try to push for the correct pronunciation of Varia, the more I'm going to pronounce it differently just to spite you.
Just go for the full Romanji Baria.
I thought we were talking about the Varia suit. Anyway, Lenophis making his way into Sector 1 as FPiz making his way up to Arachnus. And Lenophis also not able to show off the Stabilizer Spark, getting trolled by a turnaround frame. Now, on difficulty 3 seeds where that's required, it is a soft lock if you miss it. Fortunately, in this case, we have missiles, so it can just kill the Stabilizer the old-fashioned way.
And Lenophis finding the bombs in the Hornode hole that FPiz could not find earlier. And Lenophis has decided to keep on going through the Sector 1 loop. Bombs do open up quite a bit since he has Morph Ball and Speed Booster. That'll get him 2 green doors. But going through the rest of it, of Sector 1 and finishing up there. He'll find his Varia suit at the bottom, but we don't know what he'll find in the lava dive, for instance.
That is true, and just some missiles. Sector 1 does have a tendency to have a ton of major items in it. A charge core in particular, or the area around charge core, usually yielding some sort of a major. So, I think Lenophis is making the correct call to continue through here with bombs. Bombs do open access to another few sectors, but when you have the tools to almost entirely full clear a sector, not counting the Turian area, which for all intents and purposes may as well be its own sector, you complete it while you're there. That way you don't have to worry about what you skipped.
Yeah, there's only one check that he'll have to abandon, and that's the watering hole, where you really do need gravity suit. Technically, there's like a very, very tight window that without gravity suit, you can activate a speed booster at the bottom of that watering hole, but boy, is that tough.
Yeah, and that is also not in logic, and our runners know it. With there not being a ton of benefits, you don't see our runners doing too much out of logic in this randomizer just yet. I'm sure as we have more updates and more logic to go out of, our runners will start just making a bunch of crazy plays, but that is not just yet.
I just want my cargo jump. Please, just start with missiles. Give me a nice cargo jump or two. FPiz, forgetting that he has a cubbyhole check.
And regretting going back for it. Well, because, as we know,
sure
power bombs are the least appealing pickup in this game. But
I'm sure he doesn't regret the peace of mind of there's always that one check that I always got to go back. It's right there. It's so in the way.
And if any of our viewers are not super familiar with Fusion and do know Prime Rando, power bombs, basically the equivalent of grapple. Although not even the first one is useful, as you do need main power bomb data in order to use them, as well as main bombs data, but Lenophis has that and FPiz will have that in about 3 rooms. And let's see what the charge core has today. Chat, what do you think we're going to find on charge core?
You know what? I'm going to go vanilla. I think we're going to find charge here.
Pikmin and Army in agreement. I'm going for a power bomb tank.
I mean, that's the safe bet. Although, what is
Lenophis getting absolutely trolled by the hitbox on
Oh no, Lenophis!
It's an E-tank. Looks like Charge Core must have gone over to pick Arachnus' pockets, taking the E-tank that Arachnus usually likes to give our runners.
Arachnus has pockets? And just the PB tank in the crab.
Can you prove otherwise, Army?
I mean, I guess he doesn't have clothes, but I guess he could be marsupial-oid.
Yeah. Anyway, let's talk more about Lenophis making the way out of Sector 1. FPiz, giving us the check behind Baby's first wall jumps, although not able to actually wall jump it. And FPiz deciding not to even go check the item at the bottom of Lava Dive. We know that that's the right play. Although, have to imagine that he will come back for it. With that reset though, and seeing a very linear opening to the seed, FPiz might be trying to make a couple of gambles to come back, as this is an elimination match from the upper bracket, of course. Or from the winner's bracket, rather. The loser of this still has one more chance in lower bracket, but everyone wants to stay and get to the winner's semis. Although when you see that SN Ivan is the next opponent, maybe you don't want to go on for that. And FPiz putting some mustard on that hot dog suit, getting ready to resist heat damage, as well as the damage from the Ice X once Sector 6 is on the table, which...
It technically is. It just takes some doing to unlock those green doors first.
Yeah, and Lenophis opting to go across the lobby to Sector 4 before opening green doors. A bit of an interesting play. He doesn't have any way to check the damage run items at the top of the sector until lowering the pump control. I think generally the smarter play would be to open the level 2 security locks before going here. That way you're right next to that sector already, a little faster to get there. And you can run across the station and also dip into 6 if you find items that would make that an appealing play.
But the Sector 4 loop is fairly check dense and fairly quick, so it's not a bad play to check this. Besides, we do have Speed Booster already, so we can get out very easily.
And Lenophis making quick work of this, meanwhile FPIS following in the footsteps here. Going to be forced to pick up an energy tank when he takes out the charge core. And hitting a great sweet spot to fall onto the charge core. Definitely some high-level strats there. And Lenophis paying a visit to the pumpkin troll. Only finding some trash under the bridge today. And making a great play to just jump over. Don't want to step in that trash.
Not paying the toll to that troll today. We've got places to be.
And I was about to ask if we're going to see Ceres. We will. With only base missiles and no charge beam, Ceres is going to take 5 missiles to take out, making an already slow and not worth it fight even slower. Granted, that is my own bias showing, as most people do like to clear out Ceres. I don't think Ceres has anything today.
Yeah, there's not been any sign of any profit.
Oh, FPIS dropping the space boost across the lava dive. Getting the shot through the door transition to be able to attempt it, but taking a bit of a bath and finding nothing he wants underneath. That's probably why he didn't go for it the first time. He didn't get the door shot to go for the space boost. Meanwhile, Leno getting some I-beams from the Ghidorah.
And we're finally into the tank where we fight the sea serpent that goes speedy.
Yeah, although the fight certainly won't go all that speedy today, needing to get through 5 cycles. And especially
if you miss the first one.
Yet the first cycle on Ceres always goes into the same place, so you can always know where to shoot it. At least with Space Jump and High Jump, our runners do have the ability to dodge Ceres. And it looks like FPIS making the play that I had called out earlier is the one that I would make, going into Sector 3 to open up Level 2 security. The question is, how much of Sector 3 is FPIS going to dip? With only, I think, 15 or 20 missiles that FPIS has, not enough to kill Box with base missiles, as that will take 30 missiles, and with no charge beam, it's a soft lock if you don't get it, giving us yet another space boost. I think FPIS is just on a mission to give us as many space boosts as possible in this run.
Now, we do have space jump, so we can still make the 2 checks above Box. We can just leave the room.
Meanwhile, with only missiles, Lenophis has been in the Ceres fight for over a minute at this point.
Only got a missile tank out of it.
Like I always say, Ceres is never worth it, except when it is. And today, it is not. At least Lenophis will be able to save a little bit of time on checking items in the Ceres escape here versus having gone up to check them in the earlier sector. And did get to peep the broken bridge check. Trying to use a shine spark into the bomb blocks, but because it's a chain bomb block, that won't actually work to open it. With 6 energy tanks, Lenophis says no to getting 2 more. He already has all he needs to win the game. Meanwhile, FPIS giving us a Nova Stairs check. And just
nothing on the Nova Stairs. Although FPIS goes, you know what? I might have to fight Box, so I might need some more missiles.
Yeah, imagine if Go Mode was ever on Box.
Yeah,
sounds fake to me.
As if we'd ever see that.
Imagine if go mode was on box and both runners skipped it for an hour. But we are finding diffusion at Bob. Bob has upgraded from his normal missile pack to give us a little extra functionality and a little less firing rate on our missiles.
But it also gives us a little more damage. So instead of 30 missiles per box, we only need 15.
Right, and FPIS, as we know, has at least 15.
I think he only... Oh, he has 25.
I thought he had some more, but I didn't have eyes on the number. Meanwhile, Leno actually would have enough to be able to fight box. FPIS having 10 missiles of wiggle room, have to imagine that we're going to get some cat jams coming up here. And Sector 4 was just an absolute bust. If FPIS decides to wait until coming out of Lower 4 to route that in, could pick up a substantial amount of time.
A little bit of a fun piece of trivia, though. If you beat Box 2 before you go to Sector 3, Box 1 never shows up.
Well, yeah, you already beat it somewhere else. Although that is fun that the game is coded to allow that. I'm wondering, Kazuto, you're still in chat. Is that something that is in the base game, or is that something that you hacked in?
Ooh, unfortunately, FPIS wasting too many missiles.
FPIS has space jump. He can just say goodbye to Box. Now the question is, when or if he comes back? It looks like FPIS is going to give us another space... No, just giving us a Shine Spark. It looks like the last frame before the door transition. And falling into some trash in the ceiling. Getting trolled by a side hopper.
Side hopper and a pillar. FPIS, please. We're going to see a little bit of a fun little trick right here. FPIS deciding,
FPIS deciding to try for a clip and the game saying no. Meanwhile, Leno grabbing some missiles out of the couch cushions and at the Nova stairs must be preparing to fight Box. FPIS showing off a clip we've seen before, and it pays off with
super missiles.
Army, if you find supers here, do you go back to Box now that it's only going to take about 8 shots?
I think I go back to Box, but FPIS deciding not to is heading out.
And do you know if Leno does that clip? That's the first time I've seen that clip actually pay off. But always good to get that check, normally powerbomb locked and logically powerbomb locked. That'll also open up a check at the beginning of Sector 4 for FPIS, which might unfortunately lead him in the wrong way.
The funny thing is, in the practice ROM that I have with the debug mode unlocked, where I learned and practiced clipping, it actually had like charge beam up there or something. I was just like, wait, what?
Oh, fun. I've never done that clip yet, so I never knew what that item was, because I used the same practice ROM. And FPIS is going into Sector 4. Has diffusion, so he can make one check that Lenophis was not able to make coming in here without diffusion.
Right, the freezing this POW amp in early 4. Also, usually a fairly high rate of major progression items.
And just an E-tank here. Meanwhile, we have some cat jam over on Lenophis' screen. We'll take 15 of those diffusion missiles as he does not have supers. I mean, Yervos, I think you can already mark it off for the Lava Dive Space Boost that I was certainly impressed by. I don't know. Army, do you want to count it as you were impressed by the clip?
I'm pleasantly surprised. Leno
did not grab supers. FPIS grabbed them. They are powerbomb locked. We're gonna get to see
what's behind Box.
And just some trash. So FPIS can make up a little bit of time if he chooses not to come rematch Box.
But also, finding supers behind a powerbomb lock, that really, that would make me a little nervous if I was FPIS, I'd be thinking, okay, where am I going to find power bombs, and what's going to be behind another power bomb block?
That is a good point. And also, how far into the seed does he get before he forgets? And power bombs might also not be required. Super missiles, usually not a required item. Only a few checks that they unlock. And if you have power bombs, there's nothing that supers will unlock that power bombs won't. But definitely a great quality of life will make Ice Core much faster. At Cryhard, supers can be progression. They do give you access to get through the purple Garens. So there are a few of those, just power bombs will also take those out. FPIS lowering the water, then giving us a check, seeing just trash under the bridge at the pumpkin troll. Are we going to get a much quicker Saris fight, or are we going to get a bail? We are going to get a 2-round Saris fight instead of 5.
And
we know it won't pay off,
heading into Sector 2.
Sector 2 is a large sector with a number of checks, and a lot of runners don't give it the respect it deserves. It can also be easy to forget when you're opening up a ton of things after you get bombs. It can be easy to forget that, hey, I haven't checked Sector 2 yet. And with Space Jump, our runners have access to everything in the sector aside from Crumble City and the Zazabi Speedway, which are both screw attack locked. And also, without supers, not enough ammo to take out Notori.
I think Sector 2 would have been the smarter play than Sector 4 for Lenophis at the time. He didn't have supers and he didn't have diffusion, so he couldn't make those early Sector 4 checks.
Yurvos, that does not count if it's just chat, and chat is scamming here trying to get us to mark off a space on their bingo cards.
And I'm not going to give them that satisfaction.
Neither will I, Army. Guess we don't have a second race within the race today.
Let's see, Discord messages. You guys don't know what I'm talking about in Discord messages.
Also, who blinked and missed the Saris fight on the left side of the screen? Yurvos, that means Jagger's scamming too, okay?
Sound the alarms, chat, scamming again. FPIS using his diffusion missiles in order to check underneath Sector 4. Lenophis finding screw attack in lower 2. That is a blessing and a curse, let me tell you.
It is adventure time. Come on, grab your friends.
Adventure time. Come on, grab your friends.
Yeah. So Lenophis is going to go through, going to actually have some checks opened up that are screw attack locked. Also going to have most of the BSL research station open. The blessing of screw attack is that you shred enemies with it, and also that you have good defense because you're invulnerable during it. The curse, it opens up so many checks with only 18 majors, and our runners having already picked up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 of them. So many checks open, and only 8 of them can ever be anything.
FPIS heading into Sector 6 without screw attack or power bombs. Now, we've seen him show off a clip already, so he might be just planning on clipping into lower Sector 6. One of the checks logically open to him right now, there are 4 checks that he can do, is fairly deep into Sector 6, and if you can clip, I mean, when we've already seen FPIS clip.
We have seen earlier in this tournament, FPIS has done that clip too.
So the first 3 checks in upper 6 might be a good time to soft reset out, but no. FPIS deciding to go deeper into 6.
Yeah, FPIS wants to check everything. FPIS is trying to push an advantage, trying to do checks that maybe he doesn't think that Leno will. Meanwhile, Lenophis going on the one hard-coded boss. Zazabi, no HP value of relevance. Technically 100 HP, but you have to hit it with 10 a combination of 10 missiles and or charge shots. Doesn't matter what kind of missiles, what kind of beam. Just takes 10 shots. Zazabi
I'm waiting for the day where that missile and charge damage updates with beam and missile upgrades, and we can just shred Zazabi. I'm just waiting for it.
And you have to hit Zazabi in stages 2, 2, 2, and 4. Meanwhile, FP's picking up Ice Beam. This does give away another way out of lower 4.
And Gravity Suit
Gravity
on
Suit.
Zazabi.
Lower 2 is stacked today. And let's get the Speedway check. Now,
And FP's absolutely going to clip into Sector 6. Very quickly getting that clip. Nicely
easy
done.
every time for FPiz. Meanwhile, Leno not using diffusion to check the lower item in Zazabi Speedway, but just choosing to go the way that you need to collect it. And yes, chat, Zazabi does have something for once. FPiz going to check the item up in the wine cellar, just finding a nice missile vintage today, using diffusion to check the item without having to go up and grab it.
But we do not have charge beams, so we won't be getting a visit from our friendly neighborhood cactus beach ball.
At least not yet. As that boss does tend to have a high chance of having majors, so our runners might be coming back here whether they want to or not. And let's see if FPiz wants to keep that Ice Beam. Once he finds Charge Beam, Ice Beam will give him a 48 damage pseudo screw attack. No damage added to any of the actual shots from the gun though. And the reason for that is if you let that add damage, it just basically shreds everything and makes it so that you can't really freeze any enemies anyway. Unlike in other Metroid games, if Ice Beam will one-shot something, it doesn't freeze it the shot before taking it out. It does outright one-shot it. And Army, I believe I cut you off on something. Sorry about that.
No worries. But even fewer worries because I've already forgotten what I was going to say. Nitro Tetrazol in chat does ask a little bit about why ice isn't on the tracker, and that's really because we only have so many places on the tracker. It's technically more relevant than wide. Because it is a way out of lower sector 4 on its own. But we usually don't see that misplaced POW amp exit. Instead, we usually see missiles or ice plus wide. But that's the main point. So we have 5 beams and only 4 slots for the beams.
And Lenophis giving us a check of the 2-to-1 connector. Meanwhile, FPiz coming into Sector 2. If I'm interpreting a couple shots left correctly, I think he may have been frustrated that he wasn't able to check Pillar Highway. And once he finds Screw Attack, that might make that a little more frustrating, having had to orphan that one check. And Lenophis going to carry this through to Sector 3.
Lenophis is heading straight to Redlocks right now. That's exactly what he's doing.
It is a great play. Also, being 2 from Go, we have definitely seen Go mode items on the way for 2 level 4 locks, and even if they're not, having level 4 open already means that once you find your Go mode item, you can just run straight to the operations deck, rather than having to run all the way to the bottom of the station.
We've also seen Go mode items behind level 4 locks. Plasma beam on box 2.
More commonly referred to as Xbox, because it's infected by an X. You get it?
Lenophis checking the check that I totally forgot about last time. On his way to Sector 5.
You are not the only runner who has forgotten that in this tournament.
And finding
in fact, we had that
missiles.
happen on your restream.
In fact, we have.
Lenophis in the spacewalk.
And FPiz finding his own screw attack.
And no comment, Yervos. I will just say, I was doing exactly what I intended to do.
It's called the anti-joke. It's where you make a joke that's bad, but you have to explain it, and the explaining it makes it become the joke, like I just did.
Army giving us a masterclass in the anti-joke, and Lenophis giving us a masterclass in the Sector 5 data room. Just finding a missile tank today probably could have gone without this one. And
Lenophis heading into the nightmare area on his way to the Sector 4 locks, while FPiz making his way out of Oasis.
And just some trash in the mini fridge. Really need to do a better job of cleaning up on this station here. Don't want to keep those rotting power bombs in the fridge. And FPiz making his way over towards Zazabi. Have to imagine with Screw Attack and Speed Booster to be able to get the Speedway, that we won't see him skip that boss. A lot of runners do just check the first item and then back out, but FPiz making what we know to be the correct play, and have to assume that he will be following Leno to lower Sector 4 shortly after.
It's definitely lucky for both of these runners to find Screw Attack right before Zazabi. That really incentivizes the Zazabi play.
And worst room in the game, living up to its name with only a piece of trash, making it just a little worse today. And FPiz going to get trolled a little by Zazabi. You have to hit the damage in 2, 2, 2, and 4 shot increments. The firing rate of diffusion makes it very difficult to get 4 shots on the last stage.
Of course, Zazabi, as long as he can get into Sector 2, Zazabi is in logic if you can get out of Zazabi as well. High jump, screw attack, space jump, that sort of stuff. FPiz finding his own gravity suit, so he'll very likely be making his way to Sector 4, Sector 5 very soon as well, after cleaning up Sector 2. Lenophis opening up his own red locks. And unfortunately, there's
a little time using diffusion missiles to check this.
Lenophis doesn't have the equipment needed to open up a few of these checks. There's a power bomb check and a crab battle that you have to fight. And Lenophis isn't heading out of the Screw Attack exit, instead electing to head towards Crumble City. It's probably where he's going to go. So we'll probably see a Crumble City check before Lenophis heading into Sector 6.
It is faster to go this way out of Lower 6. That has been tested out. It feels like it's faster to go up the long way, but with room transitions, if you go optimally, it's faster to just go out through the diffusion check or check these couple of items that I don't think Leno gave us a check for because he did not have his diffusions when he came in here.
And he's not like going to Crumble City.
Well,
instead
he needs to
electing
check the data room first.
No, but the data room check is so slow.
But the data room check can also be go mode, or we had one runner who was going to have to make a long loop who found their way out of Sector 4 in the data room earlier in this tournament. I don't even remember who it was. Kazuto in chat saying that Crab Battle is very out of logic right now. Or rather, extremely out of logic. Although, I think technically possible if you really want to waste your time using those 1 damage particles from diffusion missiles. I don't want to know how long it would take to kill those crabs, but it could be done.
I mean, probably more than the missiles that they have right now.
And it is FPiz, not Lenophis, who will give us the check of Crumble City.
And yes, the particles that come out of a charged diffusion shot do 1 missile damage each.
That actually gets relevant on the Nova stairs, which is why you sometimes end up accidentally killing the Nova. Because if you hit it with all of the particles, it dies, and then you can't stand on it, and you feel badly, and nothing of value in the city today.
But now that level 4 locks are open, the routing between sectors 6 and 5 is much easier to parse and get through. But also we have the we have the leg that will split off into the Xbox check. And they do have screw attack, so they can get out. But
They
you
cannot
don't
get
have
into
wave.
Xbox without Powerbomb's army.
Oh, you are absolutely correct.
But Lenophis will be able to get into Pillar Highway, so we will get one check that FPIS was not able to make.
And then the column men exited their columns. Awaken my masters. Aye, 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 aye.
It looks like
Ooh,
FPIS
it's a
is
major.
deciding to go back to box, so we will get some cat jam here. Meanwhile, Lenophis finding a major at the Pillar Highway, and it is Charge Beam. I still swear, FPIS looked upset to miss that check earlier, and that is justified.
Oh, and we found Charge in Sector 6. And unfortunately, FPIS also had to skip out on Varia Core. So that's
Yeah. If Varia Core has Plasma Beam, this is GG. If Varia Core doesn't have Plasma Beam, then this is still a race. But I have to imagine that FPIS probably won't be going back to Sector 6 for quite some time unless he finds power bombs. And we don't know where those are.
Also, Araki only wrote the story. He didn't write any of the music. That would be Iwasaki Taku. That would be copyright claiming my rendition of Awake.
And also, chat is correct. We've got a Plasma Hunt today.
Also, did FPIS check the speed check above Sector 3 right there? Or did he just run by?
I blinked.
Because I think he just ran by. He pulled an army. Luckily for him, there's nothing of importance there, like Charge Beam. But
I was watching chat scamming, so I didn't see it.
he checked it earlier.
And FPIS going back into Sector 5, going to give us the Ripper Road check. Let's see if we have anything important here. And FPIS also does have the ability to go check the speed trap if he so desires. With Gravity Suit, Speed Booster, and High Jump, he will be able to keep Sector 6, or Sector 5 broken rather, and you know, he's just going to go through the circuit without power bombs. There are 2 items he won't be able to check, but these are some checks that Lenophis did not get.
Without power bombs or without yellow doors already being open. So there'll have to be a little bit of backtracking to get out. It's a little unfortunate, the structure of Sector 5, when you don't have those yellow doors open.
Well, he's already checked the data room, so he won't have to do the full backtrack loop.
But there's 2 checks underneath the data room that... Well, so you're right. You won't have to do the full backtrack loop, especially if he just soft resets out of not finding anything. But had no power bombs at the bottom. That also feels really bad, especially after finding super missiles behind a power bomb lock.
Yeah, it's tough to say. There are definitely different schools of routing here. A lot of runners do like to check Sector 5 before they go into 4, just because they're already there. In terms of cores that we have seen Speed Core, Charge Core, a High Jump Core, Missile Core, and Varia Core, so that is 5 cores, chat. Meanwhile, FPIS is not getting rewarded for doing these checks. But at least giving us some style with that diffusion missile check.
And here's Lenophis heading into Sector 5 with those yellow locks open. This will make for a much easier loop around Sector 5. Not to mention, able to check right here, which is completely yellow. Lock checked. It's... Oh, no.
You know,
Or
I was
is it...
just about
Oh,
to say,
yes!
we were wave beam away from having Turian as a possible location, and Lenophis finding the wave beam that FPIS won't be able to find. You know, I'm gonna make the hard read now. Plasma, rather? Animals. The animals are holding the plasma beam today.
I feel like it's just gonna be up here. Oh, no.
And FPIS
Oh, no,
showing
what
off
have I
yet
done?
another space boost. Unfortunately, not getting through there. And both runners finding power bombs at the same time with a high five up in the speed chat. Or in the speed trap. Now let's see if we can keep a pattern going from races I've been watching lately, and let's see if the back of the speed trap here has wide beam. It does not, just some trash. And it looks like chat is aware that the speed trap is in fact my room. I have claimed it. Much like FPIS about to claim a wave beam here. The question is FPIS going to go back for Pillar Highway? He's going into, I can't believe it's not Sector 6. He is not. Probably, I would say that's the smart play. Dipping back in there would be kind of a poor decision at this point, but we know it would also be the correct decision.
Yeah, that's really hard to call. From that entrance of Sector 6, it's not that far in, but it is only a single check.
Although with power bomb, oh, you know what? He's going to want to open up red locks before he goes back to Sector 6. FPIS has power bombs now. He could be thinking of taking us on a Cat Jam World tour. Has all of the tools to have Turian in Logic as well. So we could have Plasma down near Ridley.
Lenophis, unable to hit a stationary block, has to resort to a Morph Ball Bomb.
It doesn't look like Lenophis knows the strats to use diffusion missiles to check items that are behind shot blocks. Which is definitely some tech that can speed up a couple of checks a little bit.
Now we'll be able to get these power bomb checks in lower 5. At the same time, FPIS is making the power bomb checks in upper 5.
And not happy with what he's finding. I don't think we have enough ammo to see a Nightmare fight. Also, Kazuto in chat saying that Lenophis got waved. And, you know, you can't tell me that Kazuto didn't intentionally build Wave Beam like that just to troll all of the runners. I'm onto you, Kaz. I think you're scamming up in here.
He's been lying to us the entire time. There's actually no wave beam hitbox. It just looks like a beam.
I mean, there has to be a hitbox. You do accidentally hit things with it sometimes.
No, that's just a glitch.
And apparently in my world, just everyone's scamming this morning. FPIS skipping the airlock check. Interesting choice there. Chat saying that Wave Beam, it is RNG when you hit. And I will take your word for that, Pikmin, as you are tracking and doing a better job of paying attention to what our runners are doing than I am. Also, want to give a shout out to our tracker, the great Pikmin ZX789. Definitely encourage everyone to give him, as well as the runners, a follow, as they are giving us some great entertainment today. And FPIS going through the bomb maze in lower sector 4. With Wave Beam, FPIS can give us a crab battle check. Imagine if Plasma Beam at crab battle. That's a world I want to live in. Lenophis proving my hard read incorrect and not giving us the animals. Oh, right. FPIS also has power bombs, an easier way to deal with crab battle.
I'm sure that crabs won't live very long against planted claymore charges.
Yeah, and they were just, stocking up on some missiles to keep the battle going. Lenophis going into the maintenance duct, getting stuck picking up another energy tank that he doesn't seem to want in this run. Also getting trolled by the spitters. And just some trash in the ceiling. FPIS dipping down into the Thunderdome. I didn't see what miner was under there, but it was something.
It didn't matter.
Does it ever? I have literally never seen a major in the Thunderdome. I want there to be one. Yeah, in chat, Charge Beam is at Loser Highway in Sector 6, or Pillar Highway as some refer to it.
It's technically more descriptive.
We have a lot of rooms that don't have names and a lot of rooms that have too many names. It all balances out. And FPI's about to go be disappointed by the data room, and let's see where he chooses to go from there. Lenophis giving us a reactor check, and I think we might be about to see a Yakuza fight.
It doesn't... It's hard to tell if the seed pushes you towards the reactor area just because it's just not a lot of checks over here.
I mean, also, once you have screw attack and power bombs for a bit, it's hard to tell what the seed wants you to do in general. And to my memory, I don't think Lenophis ever went back and found the super missiles, so maybe a bit of a slower fight here. Because usually you'll use a lot of missiles to push Yakuza to the next fight, as well as needing them for the core.
FPIS also making the main deck play.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a smart play this far in. Plus, there's the meta logic of it too. You're almost an hour into the seed and your opponent hasn't done, and you're looking for one or two items. Reactor is a play that no one wants to make early in the most part, so you're thinking, maybe my item's there and my opponent just didn't want to go check that. Now the real question, do we see FPIS free the animals? I doubt it with this being in a match. Let's see, definitely giving us plenty of entertainment value here. There aren't a ton of checks left. We do have a couple of powerbomb checks in Sector 3, as well as Gary. We also have the ability to go into the back part of 6 and down into restricted area and go on something of a Cat Jam World Tour. The tournament is still running on version 9.90 of the randomizer, and if you fight Xbox, Cat Jam doesn't stop playing until you pick up a major somewhere. Some say it's a bug, I say it is the best feature.
FPIS also finding that there's nothing for him in the maintenance vent. Yeah, the last big area of checks is going to be in Deep 6. But Lenophis heading into the Notori area of Sector 2, we're likely to see a Notori fight at this point.
That does seem likely, and it's a good play routing in from this direction. Lenophis also hasn't given us a Crumble City check, so we know there's nothing there. He does not know that yet. Now the question is, does FPIS follow the same route, or does he soft reset out of either Reactor or Yakuza? And I am with you on that, Multi-Dark Samuses. I certainly would love to see that music bug always stay around. Actually, one of the most fun suggestions I've seen in the Metroid Fusion Discord, someone suggesting that every time you pick up a powerbomb tank, the music should change to a random track. And I don't want to put more work on Kaz, but that sounds really fun.
And Lenophis heading up into Nitori.
Yeah, meanwhile, FPI's giving us a Yakuza fight. And with super missiles, this will be a much faster fight, getting the 2 cycle. And many fewer hits required on the second phase of the fight. And yeah, chat, we are in a boss rush now, as usually happens once you start getting about the hour mark. And
Lenophis had a little bit of trouble with those spores, but we're on to the second phase of Nitori, and now he's having a little trouble with those plasma beams.
Yeah, and the spores can be trolly if you don't know to stand at the absolute edge of the platform to make them not stall. And with this being a boss rush, we're seeing that that clip that FPI's made to pick up early supers is paying off in spades, as he is definitely catching up to Leno at this point.
FPIZ's missiles are doing a whole 20 extra damage, so they're almost twice as effective as Lenophis's.
Yeah, Lenophis does 25 damage, and FPIZ does 45. And especially anything after Sector 3, the game is expecting you to have supers when you get there vanilla.
Lenophis also having trouble with the plasma core. These beam pores are a little bit trolly from time to time, but Lenophis seems to be having extra damage.
I believe I've seen
also heading.
I believe I've seen a mention of there being an oscillator on the hitbox for the eye of the cores. Unless I'm remembering wrong, so that can make it just a little more trolly to hit them.
Yeah, I've heard something of the same thing. I'm not exactly sure how it works, but it was definitely in reference to the ice core at the end of the game, and why diffusion doubles are notoriously hard on that one.
And FPIZ with fully powered missiles, and a lot of them able to just come into Nitori and just unload. And there are a few things more satisfying than just spamming this boss with the highest powered missiles getting the most screen shake. And Lenophis is about to go find that there is nothing waiting for him in the city. And thank you for explaining the oscillator, FLJ. The eye cores do in fact have an oscillator, and if you aim at the eye when it's tilted, you have a chance to tank. I knew I had read something in the Metroid Fusion server, but wasn't sure what it was. Summer, it was at Loser Highway. And speaking of the Discord server, we do have a community Discord server for Metroid Fusion. If you like what you see and haven't had a chance to play Rando yet, you can get a link to that in the chat here. You can come join. We have a channel with some setup resources. We have some strats on display, also a Q&A area that you can get some assistance with some questions that you may have, as well as plenty of friends to do casual races with.
We're getting a little bit of divergence here. FPIZ heading from Sector 2 into Sector 1. Lenophis heading back into Sector 4 to make that powerbomb check. He didn't check it with diffusions earlier because he didn't have diffusions earlier.
No, looks like he's also going to go give us Crap Battle and the Thunderdome, which we know are just a time loss at this point. Is he going to route backward into lower Sector 5 and go do Nightmare? I think he is.
It's not a bad route. I've been trying to incorporate it into my runs whenever I can as well.
I have as well, and then I didn't get Screw Attack in 2 of my runs against Jagger.
Well, that's when you just do Secret Message.
And also I didn't have Gravity in the 3rd one. In fact, I went to Nightmare without Gravity.
Gravity-less Secret Message?
No, Gravity was... Oh, I remember where gravity was. I won't spoil that if anyone wants to go and check the VOD of that race. But FPIZ is giving us a Turian check. Unfortunately, Plasma Beam cannot be on Ridley itself, so we will not get a Ridley check. Plus, FPIZ doesn't even have Charge Beam. He does not have enough missiles. Ridley has 4,500 health. With fully powered missiles at 45 damage each, that's 100 shots if you don't miss any of them.
And Lenophis backtracking to head into the nightmare area with his power bombs.
Yeah. And with Lenophis's routing here, I have to assume that he is still definitely in the lead, as he has been for much of the race. For a while, FPIZ was gaining some ground, but just... Wait, what are you... What's... Oh, Lenophis is checking. Did he not check... Wait, have we seen Waterway?
We have.
Oh, and he's also going to give us the power bomb check here, and that is...
And it's just missiles. And we have a major in the Turian area. This could be...
This has to be what we've been looking for. Wide. Plasma Beam
Plasma
down by Ridley. When does Leno go there?
Well, and FPIZ is still looking for charge. We're not quite in go mode, but the commentators in the chat, we are in no mode.
FPIZ definitely has a less trolly check, but it looks like Leno is probably going to go do the Xbox loop to get through, and only a matter of time before he ends up going the other way into Turian. FPIZ probably getting ready to go check the watering hole, but then I don't think he has much left. He could go Sector 3 or Sector 6. Yeah, Plasma, it's a nominal decrease to the actual single frame damage of the shot Nitro, but Plasma makes your beam do damage every frame. So for anything that has more than one frame of vulnerability, Plasma will do much more damage. Mech Mantis, I believe that Charge Beam is feeling very energized today, thank you. And we are one major away from Oops All Majors. Lenophis giving us a check of the Speed Boost motorway. The only item we have not seen is Wide Beam, and our runners would love to see that, and I'm sure some of you would love to not see that so that you can get your cosine beam versus Omega Square. And another attribute of Wave Beam, having that makes it very challenging to hit the Seeker missiles that Xbox shoots at our runners. But also, get your cat jams in the chat. Lenophis is going to take us on a Cat Jam World Tour. Unfortunately, we know it won't go too far. Once he gets back into the Turian area and finds Plasma Beam, that will end the Cat Jam and will end the World Tour. And FPIZ, we might be getting a Gary check, and... No? Are we getting a Nightmare check? No, we're getting the Sector 3 loop here. So we know FPIZ is going in the wrong direction, we know Lenophis is going in the right direction. I have to assume at this point it is Lenophis' race to lose. McGack 2, there was a conversation about how we didn't have a name for the scientist at one point, so Hercules Bench Press said that his name is Gary, and as such, his name is Gary. And we will get to see Gary. What do you think, chat? We do still have one more shot at the Vanilla Major square. We could have Vanilla Wide Beam. Uh, Copper, I don't think he forgot about it. I think he's planning on routing it in whenever he goes to do the Xbox check. And I think he's making the meta play assuming that Lenophis would not have gone to Gary. I don't think it's a wrong choice. Especially going reverse into Turian shows that he's probably not planning to do that. We have vanilla wide beam chat.
Oh, so we were seeing in chat people asking, hey, do we have a vanilla item on a boss? Well, there you go. That's a bingo for multi-dark Samuses. Plasma's right here, Mike Saw. That is go mode for
1 hour,
Lenophis.
9 minutes, and 7 seconds, Lenophis in go mode. It is very much his race to lose. Unfortunately, once he leaves this room, Cat Jam will end. So, rip to the Cat Jam World Tour. And with this, barring anything extremely unexpected, it looks like Lenophis will be moving on to winners semifinals against SN Ivan. And FPIZ will be dropping into the lower bracket to await the winner of Farron Oso versus Kaede Rikawa. Games 1 and 2 of that series starting at noon Eastern tomorrow. As well tomorrow at 6 p.m. Eastern, we have games 1 and 2 of my series against Logan. And that is all we have for you in terms of races scheduled so far for this weekend. That is a great question, Nemono. I do not know if that counts as charge required for a boss.
I would count it because the boss doesn't spawn without charge, and charge is the only thing that damages that boss. So yeah, I think like the only two bosses where charge is explicitly required is Ridley and Megacore. I think that's why it's written that way.
Although only bosses that can be beaten with 10 regular missiles have the ability to have charge beam in the current logic. And we are getting a raid from SpeedGaming main with a party of 156. You are coming in at the tail end of Game 3 between FPIZ and Lenophis in the winner's bracket round of the Metroid Fusion Randomizer tournament. Lenophis is in go mode. FPIZ still needs charge beam for go mode. That is in Sector 6, and FPIZ is going everywhere but Sector 6. Multi-Dark Samus, I would say Leno would need to die a few times for FPIZ to get back into it. Being this deep into Sector 5, we're probably going to see a nightmare fight from him and clear everything possible before Sector 6.
Well, so it's only...
Yeah. And it looks like we are about to see the operation deck for the third time in this race. I had to think about that for a second because we're so far into the race, I had forgotten for a moment what our go mode was. Lenophis will have a bit of a slower fight. Oh, getting trolled by the charge beam hitbox here.
Lenophis does have ice missiles, but not opting to...
He was going for the refreeze with the ice beam.
But ice wave is... well, it's just hard to hit with wave. That's the problem.
Yeah, I think he's just going safety straps. Because if you mess up the refreeze strategies, that can definitely go south pretty quickly.
FPIZ just about to find his own charge beam, but it's going to be just a little bit too late. Entering go mode right as Lenophis is starting to fight the ice core.
Yeah, and that's gotta feel bad because we saw him shooting toward that on his way out of Sector 6 in the first place. And he's going to know he could have had this a long time ago. FPIS, or Lenophis rather, just making slightly better routing decisions throughout the seed as far as what the seed has required. I think both runners had good decisions they've made. FPIS will have a much faster fight against the SAX. We have seen Wide Beam make the difference, but when we saw Wide Beam
also has supers.
Yeah, when we saw Wide Beam make a difference, though, the runner who was ahead going into SAX on Ice Core as the other runner was getting into the operation deck room. I just don't think there's enough time for FPIS to catch up on this.
Also, I do take a little bit of umbrage, disagreement with cosine beam. No, this isn't cosine beam. It's minus sine beam. It starts in the middle and goes down. It doesn't start at the bottom, which would be minus cosine.
I believe that the hitbox is cosine, though.
I'm sorry? Does the hitbox not follow the... No, the hitbox needs to follow the beam.
I mean...
Ooh, Lenophis didn't quite get the...
It could also be cosine minus 90.
I mean, it would be cosine 90 minus theta. But
Kazuto is saying that the actual calculation uses a sine wave, though. And Cryhard saying army is broken, and in fact we know, army in shambles. Meanwhile, F is about to be
off
in
the
shambles
refreeze
here.
strats.
Yeah, no doubt on that one. And we'll definitely have a make quicker work of the ending, but unless Lenophis gets severely trolled by the Omega, and with this beam combination can happen. But basically it's the winner of Omega Metroid versus Lenophis determines who wins the race. And right now, Lenophis definitely having a stronger fight there.
And Lenophis has absolutely been tearing up the bracket. He was seed 21 from the seeding races, but he's gotten through, what? Pikmin was 12, Tupta was 5, and now FPIS is 4th seed?
Yeah, I mean, Lenophis is a veteran of various randomizers and is going to move on to the semifinals. Get your GGs into the chat. And I would say that we're gonna see about a minute difference with the difference in loadout, because FPIS will be able to get a stunlock on the Omega, but Lenophis winning with an official racetime.gg time of 1 hour, 16 minutes, and 37 seconds. And we will see if we're going to be able to get Lenophis into the chat here. And it looks like we are. Just one moment. And we are being joined now by our winner, Lenophis. GG, Lenophis.
GG. I felt like I should not have won this. I
totally
felt like I should not have...
A minute slower and you wouldn't have. FPIS found Wide Beam and was just through SAX as you were fighting Omega.
Oh, geez. Okay, so there were not many locations left. There was the 3 at Nightmare. There's 2, or actually, no, I take that back. There are 1, 2, 5, and 3 that I didn't check. I think that's it. I don't know. And there was also missing super missiles. So where was Wide Beam?
Wide Beam, and super missiles. Wide Beam was on the Scientist.
Thanks. Is this even randomized?
Yeah, and
is
also
this even randomized?
So FPIS had super missiles almost the entire game. They were the power bomb lock check above box. FPIS actually clipped in there and got them on the first loop through Sector 3.
Oh, so they were in the junk or in the garbage chute then? Okay.
No, not in the garbage chute.
That's
the power bomb check up up above.
Oh, that one. Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, there is a clip you
Wow.
can
All right.
do from the item stuck in the ceiling to get into that room without power bombs. So FPIS was, the more bosses you all fought, the more time FPIS was able to gain on you. And unfortunately, we do have word that FPIS will not be able to join us here today. But yeah, you two actually had different go mode items as well. FPIS went through Sector 6 without his screw attack, so wasn't able to get Charge Beam from Pillar Highway, but did have Plasma before you.
You know, I had that feeling. I just had that feeling when Screw Attack appeared early. I'm like, you know what? It's going to be Ridley. It's going to be Ridley. I didn't feel comfortable going down there with what I had, though, because if I didn't have Wave Beam at the time. Like, you know what? We're going to put Ridley off. We're just going to put that off.
And this was one of the seeds where Wave was late enough that we actually didn't think it was too disappointing to see. But yeah, Leno, definitely showing off how your randomizer experience through so many randos over the years, that routing can definitely be the way to win a race, because I don't have much I could critique about your routing at all. You were very thorough and everything just flowed.
I was thorough, but at the same time, I felt like my late game routing was not good. Like, Go Mode Plasma, it's a Plasma Hunt. You have 2 sectors you haven't even touched yet. There's all of the main deck you haven't touched yet. There's still scattered checks in a couple of sectors you did do. Sector 4 had absolutely nothing. Like Sector 4 was legitimately trash. Complete garbage. I have not seen that before. There's usually at least one item in Sector 4. I don't think I've ever seen that before.
Yeah, that was just a completely barren Sector 4, and especially going back to double check those lower items, we already knew that those weren't going to hold anything for you, but I don't know that I've ever seen such a bad Sector 4, and Sector 6 wasn't doing much better aside from having one go mode required item.
Yeah. Like, I felt confident enough. I mean, if it wasn't Ridley, I was going for Nightmare. Like, Nightmare would have been my next play, and it would have been horrible.
Yeah,
and I would have hated myself.
Nightmare is one of the bosses. I think that most people put that off until one of the last checks that they make. And that can be definitely something that wins a race. And Leno, it looks like you now get the honor of moving forward into winners semis to play against SN Ivan. How are you feeling about that matchup? You can't get a higher seed to try to pop this time.
You're going down, Ivan. The 21 versus the 2. You're going down. The upset.
Ivan's not the 2. Ivan's the 1.
Oh. Guess what? The Cinderella story will continue.
Yeah. I have seen you say before that you plan on taking out all of the top seeds, and I've seen some people say it's mostly a tournament to see who gets to play Ivan in Grand, so let's see if you can change that narrative a bit.
Maybe. I also like to give a special shout out to Polar Bear Bunny, who has had me going all the way. She has me winning. She's streaming right now, so she's not going to see or hear this message immediately, but she's the only one who has the fullest confidence in me. Thank you, Bunny. I do not plan to disappoint.
So, who's calling for Lenophis versus Army of One in Grands?
You all right over there, Army?
I was taking a drink. I choked a little.
Well, you definitely don't want to choke in your races, Army.
Yeah.
It looks like Yervos in chat is calling for you to be the champ, Leno. And chat, what questions do we have for our runner here?
I mean, just before we get to the questions, I would like to say, like, win or lose against Ivan, this has been a fun tournament, and I'm going to take this as far as I can. I'm just going to keep going, keep winning, keep doing what I'm doing. And everyone who's in my way is going down. Well,
you better hope that you don't come up against me then. Because I want to get that bot.
I mean, you either got to hope I get knocked down to lower bracket, or you face me in the finals.
I am fine with either of those. And yeah, it looks like with the routing that we have here, the earliest that we could possibly meet would be in Losers semis. Of course, that is assuming a lot here, but always good to have some underdog stories. But what do you do when you have the underdog versus the underdog? Clearly, you root for Army of One to just go through and beat them both.
Yes, that's how it works, right?
Sure, I'll accept that.
I mean, hey, if we meet each other, this is going to be a fun matchup. If we don't meet each other, then just good luck to the future runs and future tournaments. No matter what happens, I'm here to have fun.
Yeah, and we absolutely are winding down in the number of races that we have left in the tournament, but we have a lot of good ones coming up, although not much this weekend. I know we touched on this earlier today, but as far as remaining races for this weekend, nothing else on the calendar today. Although we did have, if we were only going to get one race, we had a hell of a race for this. Tomorrow, starting at noon Eastern, we have games 1 and 2 in the lower bracket round 4 matchup of Farron Oso versus Kaede Rikawa. And then at 6 o'clock Eastern, tomorrow we have games 1 and 2 of another lower bracket round 4 matchup between myself, Autumn Out of Habit, and Logan. So definitely some more. Doesn't look like we have a ton of questions in chat. Army, if you have any other questions, or Leno, if you have any other comments that you'd like to make.
I would just like to give a shout out to FPiz, who kind of got caught up in the middle of just some unfortunate circumstances. It kind of dragged out a little bit, but FPiz, you're going to do good in lower bracket. Just keep doing what you're doing. And Autumn, if you face FPiz, it's going to be, as you said, one hell of a match. I mean, these are going to, there's no easy out. Everyone is strong competition at this point. Like, just keep doing your best. That's all you guys can do. That's all
I'm really glad that you and FPiz got the rematch after the technical difficulties that FPiz was having. I know that I wouldn't want to take wins on a technicality, to be honest.
Oh, definitely. Definitely.
Yeah, and the true winner are all of the viewers getting treated to yet more high-level Metroid Fusion Randomizer play. Although, I think you come in close second in the winners there, Leno, getting the win to move on in the series, and looks like chat is definitely behind you here. A little bit of a favorite. I think you've been on SpeedGaming once or twice before.
Yeah, just once or twice. Only once or twice, though. No more. Definitely no more than that.
But
all right,
with that,
I'm just going to say I'm going to hop off. I'll let you send us off. Thanks for everything. GG's, and we'll see you next time.
Yeah, GG, and good luck in your races against Ivan. That should be one hell of a match. And with that, that is all we have here for this Metroid Fusion Randomizer run here on SpeedGaming 3. We've already looked ahead to the schedule. So this has been Autumn Out of Habit and Army of One, and we will see you next mission.
See you later, everyone.